There is a storm inside every mind. The world will test you, sometimes gently, sometimes harshly. But the true measure of your peace is not in avoiding the storm, it is in how you stand within it. Anger is not something that attacks you from outside. It is a fire you light yourself, often without realizing it. And once lit, it consumes not the world but you. Anger is rarely born from the actions of others. It is a creation of the mind, a response you give to what you perceive, not to what is truly happening. Every word that irritates you, every glance that provokes you, every situation that seems unfair is filtered through a lens only you control. The moment someone speaks harshly, it is not their voice alone that creates disturbance. It is the interpretation your mind gives to that voice. Your judgment, your assumptions, your history, your unresolved emotions, all these combine to form the spark that lights the fire of anger. Many believe that controlling others or changing their behavior will keep them calm. But this is a misunderstanding. The world does not dictate your inner peace. It merely presents opportunities to reveal the state of your mind. To live free from anger, you must understand this: the storm is always within, not outside. Every conflict begins in the mind long before it reaches the surface. Someone's harsh words might remind you of a past hurt, trigger a memory you have not fully healed, or challenge your sense of self. It is this inner story, not the outer event, that causes the rise of anger. You may feel justified in blaming others, but in truth, the real work lies within your own perception. If you can witness the provocation without being consumed by it, you have already taken control. The mind has the remarkable ability to turn the smallest irritations into mountains of fury, but it also has the power to dissolve them into nothing when you refuse to feed them. To observe without judgment, to see the reaction before it becomes action, is the first step toward freedom. Anger thrives on misunderstanding. When you assume someone intends harm, or that they are deliberately trying to upset you, the fire grows. But most people act from their own limitations, their own fears, their own stories. Rarely is it about you. By realizing this, you can create a space between the action and your reaction, a silent pause where clarity enters. This pause is not weakness, it is mastery. The mind that pauses cannot be forced into chaos. The heart that pauses cannot be pulled into rage. Every time you choose observation over reaction, the power of external events over your mind diminishes. Your emotional life is a mirror of your internal dialogue. When you tell yourself that someone has wronged you, that the world is unfair, that you deserve better, you fan the flames of anger. Changing what others say or do cannot extinguish this fire. Only changing how you see and interpret these events can. This is the art of emotional sovereignty. When you cultivate awareness, you begin to see clearly how often your mind exaggerates, how often it personalizes, how often it spins stories that were never meant to harm you. Awareness is a shield. Awareness is freedom. The practice of detachment does not mean indifference. It means recognizing that your peace does not depend on others. It is possible to feel without being consumed, to notice without reacting, to be present without losing balance. Each time you witness a provocation without judgment, you are training your mind to respond from a place of choice rather than habit. The world will always offer reasons for anger, but you have the ability to rise above them. Your perception shapes your reality more than any external circumstance. By controlling perception, you control the seed from which anger grows, preventing it from ever taking root in your life. Most people live as if they are at the mercy of their thoughts, believing that every feeling, every impulse, every reaction is a truth that must be followed. But the mind is not a master, it is a tool. It can create chaos, fear, and anger as easily as it can create peace, clarity, and strength. The difference lies in whether you allow your thoughts to control you, or whether you step back and observe them. When you begin to watch your mind, something remarkable happens. You realize that thoughts are not commands. They are passing clouds, impressions that arise and dissolve, stories that your consciousness tells itself. None of them have the power to define you unless you give it to them. To observe your thoughts is to reclaim control over your own inner world, to take the first step toward freedom from irritation and anger. Observation requires patience. It is not a one-time effort, it is a lifelong practice. When a thought of anger arises, instead of reacting immediately, pause. Notice it. Feel it. See where it originates. Is it tied to fear, to pride, to past experiences that have not been healed? The moment you create this distance, the power of the thought begins to fade. It no longer commands your actions. You can choose whether to engage with it or to let it pass. Many mistakes in life, many moments of regret, are born from reacting before understanding. Observation is the antidote to impulsive emotion. It is the act of saying, I am aware, I am present, I am not controlled by this. Thoughts are like waves on a river. Some are small, some are strong, some are turbulent. But the river itself does not panic at the rise of a single wave. It continues its course, calm beneath the surface. Your mind can be the same. Observe the waves of irritation, of judgment, of fear, without being swept away. Each time you observe without reacting, the habit of being controlled weakens. The mind begins to understand that it can generate feelings without commanding the body to act on them. You are training a silent power within, a force that allows you to remain unshaken, unbothered, and strong, even when the world around you tries to provoke a reaction. Observation also brings clarity. Often, we are disturbed not by the event itself, but by the interpretation we give it. A thought of anger might make you feel justified, but when observed, you may see that it is rooted in assumption, in incomplete understanding, in stories you have been telling yourself for years. By observing without judgment, you separate truth from illusion. The world is not inherently hostile or unfair. Your mind has labeled it so. Awareness allows you to reset this perspective. It allows you to respond with wisdom rather than impulse, with calm rather than rage. Practicing observation does not mean suppressing emotion. Suppression is the path to eventual explosion. Observation is acceptance without reaction. You feel the anger, but you do not act on it. You notice the irritation, but you do not let it define your behavior. You see the judgment arise, but you do not allow it to cloud your mind. This practice transforms your relationship with yourself. Your thoughts are no longer masters, they are messages, signals to understand and learn from, not orders to obey. Over time, observing your thoughts becomes natural. Your mind becomes a garden that you tend consciously. You remove weeds of anger and negativity, allowing calm and clarity to grow in their place. There is a quiet power in silence that the world rarely recognizes. Most people rush to speak, to defend, to explain, to react, believing that action or words are the only path to influence. Yet true strength often lies in the absence of reaction. When someone seeks to provoke you, when the world offers insult, criticism, or challenge, the first instinct is to respond. The mind whispers, the heart pounds, and a voice inside demands justice, correction, or revenge. But every reaction, no matter how justified, gives energy to the disturbance. Every word spoken in anger is a seed planted in your own heart, growing further unrest. Choosing silence is not weakness. It is the deliberate refusal to surrender your inner peace to external chaos. Non-reaction is the skill of separating your inner state from outer events. You can witness insults, judgment, or chaos without being dragged into it. There is an intelligence in calmness, a strategy in restraint, a power that cannot be matched by arguments or shouting. Silence is a statement not of surrender, but of sovereignty. It says that no one has the power to control your mind unless you permit it. It is an invisible armor, protecting your energy and maintaining clarity. Those who have mastered the art of non-reaction understand that the world's disturbances are temporary and often meaningless, but the peace of the mind is enduring and invaluable. When you refuse to react, something profound happens within. The world may continue to provoke, but your internal state remains unshaken. Anger loses its fuel, frustration dissipates, and the mind settles into observation. Others may not understand why you do not respond, why you remain calm in the face of provocation, but that is the very point. Non-reaction is a form of control over yourself that cannot be taken away by external circumstances. When someone expects a response and receives none, their power over you diminishes. Your calm becomes their mirror. Their aggression meets a still surface, reflecting only their own turmoil, while your peace remains intact. Silence also creates space for wisdom. When the mind is quiet, decisions are clearer, and insight arises naturally. Speaking in haste often leads to regret, words that inflame situations further, and energy spent that could have been preserved. Observing, reflecting, and holding your response cultivates patience. It allows you to understand not only the motives of others, but also the workings of your own mind. Non-reaction teaches discernment. It allows you to choose when engagement is necessary and when it is better to remain still. Every moment of silence in the face of provocation strengthens your mental and emotional resilience. The practice of non-reaction transforms relationships and interactions. When people see that their attempts to provoke you do not succeed, they stop trying. Your silence communicates more than words ever could. It communicates control, calm, and confidence. You are no longer a participant in every conflict. Instead, you become an observer, a master of your own state. Energy that would have been lost in anger or argument is redirected toward clarity, creativity, and inner growth. Over time, silence becomes second nature. You no longer react impulsively. You respond thoughtfully, selectively, and with precision. You become the person who is unshakable in storms, steady in the face of chaos, and untouchable by unnecessary conflict. Silence and non-reaction are also forms of self-respect. To react is to give away your energy to someone else's narrative. To remain silent is to honor your own peace and to protect your own mind. Every refusal to engage in unnecessary conflict reinforces your sovereignty. It is the quiet strength that shapes character, builds resilience, and cultivates a life free from unnecessary anger, irritation, and disturbance. Those who master this understand a deeper truth. The world's attempts to provoke are fleeting, but the power of a calm mind lasts forever. Expectations are invisible chains that bind the mind to frustration. We go through life believing that certain people will behave in a particular way, that events will unfold according to our plans, or that the world owes us fairness and understanding. From the moment we set these expectations, we prepare ourselves for disappointment. When reality inevitably diverges from our imagined ideal, irritation rises, anger flares, and the mind becomes a battlefield. Most disturbances in life are not caused by external circumstances, but by the tension between expectation and reality. To live free from anger and frustration, you must learn the art of releasing expectations, of seeing the world as it is rather than as you wish it to be. Letting go of expectations does not mean giving up on goals or desires. It means cultivating a mental clarity that separates hope from attachment. You can strive, plan, and act without insisting that others or the world conform to your personal vision. When expectations vanish, you stop being a prisoner of outcomes. You stop measuring your worth, your happiness, or your peace against the behavior of others. You learn to respond to life with acceptance rather than resistance, with understanding rather than judgment. The moment you release the pressure of should and must, the mind becomes lighter, freer, and calmer. Expectations also distort perception. When we assume that someone will act in a certain way, every action that deviates from this assumption feels like a personal affront, a word spoken differently, a plan not followed, a promise delayed. Each of these can trigger irritation if the mind clings to expectation. But the world does not exist to satisfy your assumptions. People act according to their own experiences, priorities, and limitations. By letting go of expectation, You stop projecting your demands onto others, and you stop feeding the fire of anger that arises when reality fails to align with your imagination. This release is an act of wisdom, a conscious choice to protect your inner peace, rather than surrender it to forces beyond your control. Detachment from expectation also fosters resilience. Life is unpredictable, full of surprises, setbacks, and challenges. Those who cling to rigid assumptions find themselves constantly shaken. But when you cultivate a mind free of expectation, you become adaptable. You respond to circumstances as they are, without resistance, without disappointment. The flexibility that comes from letting go allows you to navigate life with calmness and clarity. You no longer react impulsively to every perceived slight or unmet hope. You meet each situation with awareness, patience, and a steady heart, and in that steadiness, the world loses the power to disturb you. The practice of releasing expectations requires honesty with yourself. Notice where you demand that others behave a certain way, where you insist on fairness or recognition, where you attach your peace to outcomes. Observe these patterns without judgment, and gently remind yourself that freedom lies in letting go. Each time you do, you reclaim energy that would otherwise be spent in frustration. Each time you release a personal demand on the world, your mind becomes a quiet sanctuary instead of a battleground. Your emotions are no longer enslaved by the unpredictable actions of others. You begin to understand a deeper truth. The world will always act according to its own rules, and your peace is not dependent on bending it to yours. By letting go of expectations, you also allow space for gratitude and acceptance. You see things as they are, appreciate the efforts of others without comparing them to imagined standards, and find calm even in imperfect circumstances. Life no longer provokes anger simply because it is not exactly how you pictured it. Your mind becomes a place of observation rather than judgment, a space where you can respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. With this release, you start living in harmony with reality rather than fighting against it, and the irritation that once seemed unavoidable gradually fades into nothing. The mind is like a garden. Whatever you plant, nurture, and tend will grow, flourish, and shape the landscape of your inner world. If you allow weeds of anger, impatience, and judgment to dominate, your thoughts will become tangled, your emotions restless, and your life burdened by conflict. But if you consciously cultivate patience, understanding, and calmness, these qualities will take root and transform your mind into a sanctuary. Patience is not mere waiting. It is the active choice to endure without irritation, to face difficulties without giving power to frustration. It allows you to navigate life's challenges without being consumed by reactive emotions. Understanding is the soil in which patience grows. By seeking to comprehend before judging, by recognizing the perspectives, limitations, and fears of others, you nurture compassion and prevent anger from taking root. Inner calm is the sunlight that sustains both. It illuminates the mind, softens the edges of irritation, and allows you to see clearly without distortion. Cultivating these qualities is not instantaneous. It requires consistent attention and awareness. Every interaction, every challenge, every provocation is an opportunity to tend the garden of your mind. When someone tests your patience, do not immediately react. Observe, breathe, and allow understanding to guide your response. Every moment you respond from awareness rather than impulse, you water the seeds of calm within yourself. The mind, like soil, absorbs what you focus on. If you focus on irritation and judgment, anger grows wild. If you focus on patience, reflection, and empathy, serenity flourishes. With practice, the ability to remain composed in turbulent situations becomes instinctive, like the growth of a well-cared-for plant. Understanding is particularly vital in preventing emotional storms. When someone behaves in a way that provokes you, it is often because of their own limitations, fears, or misunderstandings. They are acting from a place of incompleteness, not malice. Recognizing this allows you to respond with compassion rather than resentment. Each time you seek to understand instead of reacting, you build resilience, strengthen your inner calm, and prevent the mind from being hijacked by anger. Understanding is the bridge between external circumstances and internal peace. Without it, patience is brittle and calm is superficial. With it, your mind becomes unshakable, even amidst chaos. Inner calm is cultivated through both practice and presence. Moments of reflection, meditation, or simply conscious breathing act as irrigation for the mind. They allow the qualities you nurture to deepen their roots and withstand external storms. Calmness does not mean passivity, it means clarity and control. When the mind is calm, you do not react to every stimulus, you respond with intention. Anger loses its power because calmness creates a buffer, a space where thought and reflection can intervene before impulse takes over. The more you cultivate this inner stillness, the less the world can disturb you. You begin to experience life from a place of clarity rather than agitation, from understanding rather than judgment. Cultivating patience, understanding, and calmness is also an act of self-respect. By tending your inner garden, you honor your own mind, protect your energy, and prevent unnecessary conflicts from taking root. You create a mental environment where growth is possible and negativity cannot dominate. Over time, this cultivation becomes habitual. Patience emerges naturally, understanding is instinctive, and calmness is your default state. Your mind becomes a sanctuary, impervious to the petty disturbances and provocations that once held power over you. Life may remain unpredictable, but your inner world becomes a steady harbor where storms cannot reach, a space where freedom from anger and irritation is the natural state. True power is not found in the ability to influence others, to demand obedience, or to assert control over circumstances. That is a fleeting, superficial form of strength that depends entirely on external factors, always vulnerable to change and failure. Real power is born within. It is the mastery of your own mind, your emotions, your reactions, and your choices. When you master yourself, you are untouchable. No insult, no provocation, no unexpected event can disturb the calmness of your heart. While others chase power over people and situations, those who cultivate inner mastery experience a freedom and resilience that cannot be taken away. The ability to remain unbothered, to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively, to hold peace regardless of external chaos. This is the true essence of strength. Mastery begins with awareness. You must first observe yourself honestly, notice your triggers, your patterns of reaction, your tendencies toward anger, frustration, or judgment. Understand that no one can make you feel anything without your consent. Every emotion you experience is a response, a choice, a reflection of your inner state. When you internalize this truth, you begin to reclaim authority over your own mind. You learn that control over others is an illusion. Even if you manage to influence behavior temporarily, it cannot provide lasting peace. Control over yourself, however, creates permanence. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions are aligned, you become a force that no circumstance can destabilize. Mastery is also a practice of restraint. The world offers endless provocations, but those who are truly powerful do not surrender their energy to every challenge. They choose where to invest their focus, when to act, and when to remain silent. By restraining reactive impulses, you conserve energy and preserve clarity. You no longer scatter your power in arguments, conflicts, or attempts to manipulate outcomes. Instead, you direct it inward, building resilience, wisdom, and calmness that radiate outward. People may mistake silence or non-reaction for passivity, but in reality, it is a deliberate and conscious exercise of power. The mind that can hold itself steady, even in the face of insult or adversity, is stronger than any army or argument. Self-mastery also requires detachment from the need to control outcomes. Life is unpredictable, full of variables beyond your influence. When you insist on shaping every event, you bind yourself to frustration. When you accept what is and focus on your own state, you become adaptable, resilient, and free. Mastery is the ability to navigate uncertainty without losing your composure, to act with intention rather than compulsion, and to maintain your integrity regardless of circumstances. The external world may be chaotic, but your inner landscape remains calm, intentional, and strong. Another dimension of mastery is emotional intelligence. To master yourself is to understand your emotions deeply, to recognize their origin, and to choose how to respond. Anger, fear, and irritation are no longer automatic reactions, but signals that guide awareness. Through this understanding, you can transform potentially destructive energy into clarity, insight, and constructive action. Mastery allows you to act from purpose rather than impulse, from wisdom rather than ego. You become the author of your experience rather than a character in someone else's story. Finally, true power through self-mastery manifests as freedom. You are no longer bound by the opinions, actions, or judgments of others. You are not disturbed by insults, unaffected by provocation, and unshaken by challenges. You carry a quiet confidence, a strength that does not need validation, and a peace that cannot be threatened. Those who pursue control over others may achieve temporary gains, but only the person who masters themselves experiences lasting freedom. This is the ultimate sovereignty, the ability to navigate life with calmness, clarity, and unshakable power, regardless of the storms that rage outside, a state where the mind is free, the heart is steady, and the spirit remains untouched by the chaos of the world. In the end, the path to never being angry or bothered is not found in controlling the world, changing others, or chasing perfection. It is found within. It is found in observing your thoughts without surrendering to them, in choosing silence over reaction, in letting go of expectations that bind you, and in cultivating patience, understanding, and inner calm like a carefully tended garden. True strength arises when you master yourself, when your peace is independent of circumstance, and your mind becomes an untouchable sanctuary. Life will continue to challenge, provoke, and surprise, but when your foundation is steady, no storm can shake you. Freedom, serenity, and unshakable power are not given. They are claimed by those who turn inward, face themselves honestly, and cultivate mastery over their own minds. This is the ultimate lesson. The world may be chaotic, but your inner world can remain unshakable, calm, and free, and it is here, in this quiet mastery, that true strength and lasting peace reside.